Part 18. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 172. Starting from Rewa, you have conquered everyone with your extremely excellent works. Looking at the heavy snow falling in the atrium, you and Akane Nango cuddle up together. Before you know it, your dream has come true. A kind of happiness that comes from the soul completely envelops you and her. Even though the falling white snow is so lonely and boring, it seems to have an extraordinarily lively feeling in your eyes. And your favorite actress, Rika Takarada, has frequently topped the list of I want to marry her surveys. Her outstanding acting skills have surpassed all other actresses in the industry all year round, making her a national-level actor in Japan. But even so, the relationship between the three of you has not changed at all. Although she is almost middle-aged, Rika Takarada will still come to your house often to chat with you. Occasionally, she will bring friends she knows. Every time she comes, you will put in the effort to entertain her. You will feel each other's happiness just by looking at each other. After your dream is realized, you will rarely interfere in the daily affairs of the Nango Shinjo Takyozatsu Club. Because you have been working hard for your dreams for too long, and by the time you reach middle age, you are already feeling tired and want to stop moving forward and take a nap in each other's arms. The time you spend working gradually becomes less, and the time you spend together gradually becomes more and more. For this reason, it is natural for Nango Akane to be pregnant with a child. Under your long watch and the attention of Rika Takarada, who often comes to visit, the child belonging to you and Akane Nango was born. She looked pale while lying on the hospital bed, but after looking at her child, she couldn't help but reach out and hug her. Your child is very healthy due to her childhood experiences. She also secretly made up her mind to let this child grow up healthily and safely. At Rika Takarada's suggestion, you and your wife named their daughter Mirai. Future, this is a word Nangxiang Akane didn't dare to dream about when she was in high school, and it also contains her expectations for Nangxiang's future. Under the care of you, Nango Akane, and Takarada Rika, Nango will grow up healthily in the future. Maybe it's because Rika Takarada often comes to visit and take care of her. Nango Mirai's personality is not like you and Nango Akane, but is a bit more lazy and casual like Takarada Rika. Because you often took her to watch the special films of Nango Shinjo, Nangxiang Mirai had an unspeakable longing for that passionate and righteous world since she was a child. Probably when she was in the first grade of elementary school, she expressed to you that she hoped to perform on the screen like Aunt Rika Takarada. Listening to your child's childish wishes and watching her grow up step by step, you and Nango Akane feel indescribable happiness. Time continues to move backwards. Nangxiang will continue to grow in the future. She inherited your black hair, and also inherited your wife's cute and pretty face. When she was only in the third grade of elementary school, a little brat actually handed her a love letter. Under your influence, she, who was already somewhat precocious, rejected the other party with particularly skillful means. But despite this sudden incident still made the already somewhat evil-minded wife tease her while she was cooking, asking her what kind of person she wanted to marry when she grew up. In response to her teasing, Nangxiang raised her head in the future and told her mother seriously that she wanted to marry her father when she grew up. During the simulation, the remembered scenes gradually began to emerge. Hey, my daughter wants to marry your father when she grows up. After hearing this, Akane Nango wiped her water-stained palms on her apron, and then looked at her daughter. Nangxiang Mirai is in the third grade of elementary school. The face is white with a healthy pink color, and the black eyes look big and cute because of the child's face shape. The shoulder-length black short hair looks crisp and neat. Because she is wearing a princess dress, she really has a small and cute feeling that makes people hug her. Nangxiang nodded in the future. Dad, you are handsome and gentle. When I attended the last parent-teacher meeting, many aunts were curious and asked me for his contact information. Oops. Listening to these words, The smile on Nango Akane's face became even brighter. Sure enough, you should leave that person at home. Really, he is obviously already a middle-aged uncle. But the charm shows no sign of diminishing. You can always attract bees and butterflies outside. Nango Akane murmured in her heart, and then said with a smile, then in the future, we must work with mom to take good care of dad, and don't let him be deceived by those weird women. Nan Xiang nodded vigorously. In the future, his little face full of seriousness, leave dad to me to protect you. It's so reliable. Gently reaching out to stroke Nango Mirai's little head, Nango Akane squatted down and tilted her head. She looked at the wedding photo of herself and that person hanging on the wall, and couldn't help but smile. The topic returns to wanting to marry dad. Akane Nango looked at her daughter. Marrying your father, that would be a really great dream. She smiled and touched Nang Xiangmarai's face with one hand, and stretched out her fingers with the other hand to explain, because you see, if you can marry that person, you can live happily and joyfully every day. Even later, I was lucky enough to give birth to you. I am really a happy person. Nang Xiang nodded harder. In the future. After listening to her mother's words, her big eyes lit up. It seemed that being able to marry her father was the happiest thing in the world. Then. So, you will definitely meet outstanding people of your own in the future. Why? Nang Xiang was stunned. In the future. So what mom is saying is that that person is now mom's. Although I'm sorry, I can only ask you to choose other targets. In the future. I just want daddy. Nang Xiang's face turned red in the future and he tried his best to refute his mother. In response to her feeble rebuttal, Nango Akane smiled and blinked. Oh my, you are just as smart as me in only valuing your father, but as I said, that person is already mine. Even if he is my daughter, I will not give him to you. Akane Nango held her face up and smiled as she watched her daughter spinning around anxiously. So you don't have to worry or panic in the future. One day, you will surely be able to find someone you trust and trust. That person is dad. No, absolutely not, he belongs only to mother. Nango Akane deliberately prolonged her tone. Her attitude has a funny tone. Nang Xiang almost cried in anger at his mother in the future. Then. What's not working? Ah, she is back. Seriously, come and discipline your daughter. Just now she said she wanted to marry you when she grows up. Nango Akane turned to look at Nang Xiang, who had just opened the door and entered. Oh. As expected of my daughter, she really has a good eye for others. Why do you look so happy? You already have me here. Nango Akane made a dissatisfied sound. When Nang Xiang looked at his wife and daughter, he couldn't help but laugh. Ordinary family life. Breeding ordinary happiness and joy. Regarding Nang Xiang's wrong concept of love in the future, Nang Xiang Akane provided serious guidance and wanted to fundamentally correct it. But these actions ultimately failed. Because no matter how you say it, Nang Xiang believes that you are the best marriage partner in the future, and he kissed the side of your face. Nango Akane was a little jealous of her daughter's behavior and kissed the side of your face 10 times before she gave up. After that, amid Nang Xiangmarai's objections, Nang Xiang Akane specially cleaned up a room for her. Nang Xiangmarai could no longer sleep in the master bedroom with you and Nang Xiang Akane as before. Time continues to pass backwards. Under the watchful eyes of you and Akane Nango, Nango will continue to grow in the future. At her request, Rika Takarada helped find a relationship and began to arrange some acting training for her. On weekdays, she balances study and acting training, all the way to high school. Due to being addicted to acting training, Nang Xiang's future cultural courses are not ideal. For this reason, you specially made time to tutor her, and told her that before officially entering the film and television industry, the best way is to settle down own acting skills. Nang Xiangmarai kept your words in mind, and under your guidance, she was admitted to a well-known acting university in Japan. Nango Shinjo Takyozatsu Club has released nearly 50 takyozatsu-related films during this period. It's just that as you get older, you and Akane Nango feel that you can no longer work as hard and strive as before. After discussion between you and her, we decided to write the final work in the last year. All takyozatsu fans feel regretful and reluctant to part with the official document you published. In these years of companionship, they have actually recognized your status in the takyozatsu circle. But since time and body are both force majeure factors, no matter how reluctant you are to give up, they will still respect your decision in the end. Similar to you, Rika Takarada feels physically and mentally exhausted from years of hard work after seeing your close friends. You are ready to retire, and Rika Takarada also has the idea of retirement. She told you her thoughts and got your approval in the same way. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, you and Akane Nango spent your last effort to write a poem called Goodbye, Goodbye, the script of heroes. This work includes all previous dark hero characters in Nango Shinjo Takyozatsu Club. Similarly, just like the title, it also has the meaning of farewell. The Nango Shinjo Takyozatsu Club that started in the Reiwa period, various weirdo protagonists, and the Dark Hero series are finally coming to an end today. The background of the last scene is the seascape under the sunset. Occasionally, seagulls fly across the sky. Do you really want to leave? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 173. But it's just like what the weirdo Hey said at the end. Human beings themselves are heroes. As long as you calm down your emotions a little, you can face the difficulties and sufferings in life on your own. This is the most amazing thing about human beings. The era of Nango Shinjo ends at this moment. But the story between you and her has not stopped yet. Chapter 146. Nango Akane's perfect magical smile, 4,000 words. The story between you and her has not ended yet. After the Nango Shinjo Takyozatsu Club ended, you made a special trip to find relevant people in the circle, paving the way for Nango's future. As for what happens next, then it is completely out of your consideration. After all, that's all you can do for your daughter. Chasing her dreams is what she needs to do. And in the month when you announced your retirement, Rika Takarada also held a press conference in time and decided to withdraw from the film and television industry. Your dreams have all come true at this moment. The following time is reserved for you. With your attention and concern, Nangxiang will graduate successfully in the future. Thanks to your paving the way and the fact that she has received various acting training since she was a child, as soon as she debuted, she officially established a foothold in the film and television industry with her outstanding acting skills and appearance. She started chasing her dreams, just like you did before. It is also in this process that you grow old day by day. But despite this, you and Akane Shinjo are still inseparable and have never been separated. For you, happiness is not so complicated. Sometimes, you can sit with her and look at old photo albums for an entire afternoon. Being together every day, sleeping looking at each other every day, and the first eyes you open every day are full of each other. Just such a simple act makes you feel indescribable joy and happiness. But the long river of time is very ruthless and powerful, so powerful that it can easily take you away from her. As time goes by, your body gradually cannot support it. But you are not afraid of the coming death. The high wall of death may separate you from her, but the love between you will never be severed. After your death, she did not feel lonely or alone. Because you left Nangxiang Marai behind, and Rika Takarada came to visit from time to time. The presence of the two of them made her feel so warm. In the photo album, you sit in the middle, and they are on both sides. Your smile is just as they remember it, never dim. Maybe this is happiness. Just like the sudden typhoon and heavy rainfall many years ago, which trapped her in your home. I also kept her by your side until today. Simulation ends. It's over. Looking away from the simulation, Nang Xiang felt an indescribable feeling of satisfaction. It's like watching a very good movie. Every time I complete a good ending, I will feel this way in Nang Xiang. And this time too. Nang Xiang was satisfied and at the same time looked forward to the next system rating. I don't know what the system score is this time. He continued to look down. System score, 92 points. You have achieved a happy ending. System evaluation, the love of this life will never be forgotten. The bond called happiness and responsibility connects you to her and sends your love into the future. That sudden typhoon and heavy rainfall many years ago trapped her in your home and made her completely immersed in your charm. Her heart was originally barren, but then once you walked through it, everything began to grow violently. Maybe it was just because of your outstanding appearance that she cared about you at first, but with your continuous influence and continuous efforts, she gradually realized the essence of you. It was precisely because of your first cooperation with her at the Oka festival that the timid girl was willing to take the first step, and this step is her first step in chasing her dreams and courage. This is how your love affair begins, and it seems to be a natural progression. In your youth, you respected her choice and faced the difficulties in life with her. During the days when you severed ties with the Shinjo family, your life was a little difficult, but just being with you, she seemed to have the courage to face these. You and she worked hard together for your dreams in college. You have achieved excellent results together that outsiders cannot ignore. Your relationship continues to heat up at this stage. Your experience of working hard with her will be in the future. You have a lifetime of beautiful memories, and this memory will eventually support you to continue on. As time goes by, you continue to pursue your dreams. For you, dreams are not just goals, but also the catalyst for your emotional experience. You founded the club, which is the starting point that gave birth to your dreams. Your career begins to take off at this stage, and your daily life with her is very busy, but no matter how busy you are, you and she will always find time to be together. The career of Nango Shinjo Club has gradually stabilized. Your work and career are not as busy as before, and you are also entering middle age during this period. Your dream has come true, and you have to start thinking about marriage. Under your arrangement, you will soon get married, and after the marriage, your wife gives birth to a daughter. You will be like a treasure. It's named Future. Nang Xiang will gradually grow up in the future, and you will gradually age, but time cannot take away the love between you and her, and the happiness between you and her. For you, being able to see each other when you wake up from a dream is an indescribable happiness in itself. But time is equal to everyone. The story always ends like this: two flowers bloom, separated by the sky. The long river of time will swallow you up and take you away, while she stands on the edge of the river bank, picking up every bit of you and her. She has never felt lonely, because the courage you gave her and the happiness you gave her were enough to get her through these difficult days. In the depths of the long river of memory, your figure has never been in her heart dissipate. She still loves you deeply until the end. 92 points. Nang Xiang. She took a look at this score. This rating is 1 point lower than the simulations of Chisuk Nishiki and Takina Inu, and the same as Kazuri Goto. Nango thought that there might be Akane Shinjo's regret for Rika Takarada's feelings, so some points were deducted. But if you think about it this way, if you want to get 100% happy ending, you have to drag Rika Takarada into the water. Nan Xiang was thinking about it in his heart. He can also be regarded as a man who simulated 3 happy endings. It can be said that he is familiar with this kind of thing. Only, it's just an idea after all. Nang Xiang sighed. No one can tell what will happen in the simulation. Even if he chooses the so-called harem ending, maybe the final score will not be as high as the happy ending. It's not impossible. To put it bluntly, how could a character like Rika Takarada agree to the so-called harem ending route? It's unlikely when you think about it. Thinking of this, Nan Xiangxi threw away all the miscellaneous thoughts in his mind. Nang Xiang looked at the simulator. He hasn't seen the system settlement this time. System settlement: you have obtained Nango Akane's perfect magical smile, and you have obtained specialty film and television LV4. Nang Xiangxi looked at the contents of the system settlement and couldn't help but have a strange look on his face. Specializing in film and television LV4, he still understands what it means. It should be the film and television editing and shooting skills he gained in the simulation as the god of Reiwa Takyozatsu. But Nango Akane's perfect magical smile. What the hell is this? Nang Xiangxi didn't quite understand and couldn't help but take a look. Nango Akane's perfect magical smile. The trauma of family memories in his childhood and his far superior talent for hiding emotions have created a monster who is good at disguising himself. This also allows her to show an outgoing and sunny smile that can capture everyone's heart no matter what time or place she is. I love him deeply, so from the moment we confirmed our relationship, I will never show a smile pretending to be myself again, Akane Shinjo. The moment you intentionally smile, you will temporarily enjoy add 1 bonus to your appearance value. A bonus of 1 to the appearance value. Looking at the overly simple and easy to understand explanations behind the text, Nan Xiangxi touched his chin. The bonus of appearance value add 1 has to be said to be a very powerful bonus. Because things like appearance are completely different from academic values and athletic values, and are completely determined by innate conditions. And just having such a skill can give you a 1-point bonus to your appearance value. This is not a big effect. Only. It seems a bit tasteless to me, right? Now that get out of class was over, Nan Xiangxi took out his mobile phone, switched the rear camera to the front camera, and opened his status panel at the same time. On the status panel, your appearance value is clearly marked with numerical symbols. Appearance, 9. Yes. The appearance value in Nangxiang was 9. He was already considered the most beautiful boy in Tokyo, but even without the temporary add 1 bonus to his appearance, it didn't seem to matter at all. But appearance value 10. That should be considered the theoretical limit of appearance value for humans, right? Nangxiang was very curious. What will happen when the appearance value reaches the peak value of 10? After much thought, and with the skill of Nango Akane's perfect magic smile, Nango Toki simply decided to experiment. Looking at himself in the mobile phone camera, Nangxiangxi thought for a while and smiled slowly. Then, when I was in Nangxiang, I saw a completely unfamiliar face on my mobile phone. The young man's messy black hair was scattered, his black eyes were shining with clean and pure brightness, and his facial features were deep and beautiful. But what makes people even more unable to take their eyes away is his smile. This is a smile that is extremely charming. It seems that with just such a smile, you will fall deeply and unconditionally in love with the person who has this smile. His eyes, his lips, including his person. Just like the witch in fairy tales who can destroy a city with just a smile. No matter how indifferent a woman is, once she sees the boy's smile, she will never be able to take her eyes away from it. Just like the skill name says. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 174. This is devilish laughter. The kind that can make people fall in love with you with just a smile. Nangxiang looked at himself on the phone screen. Just look at it. Tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. He thought of the stray dog adopted by his aunt's friend's second uncle who died this winter. If it were still alive in this world now, maybe it would have the opportunity to see such a beautiful thing, right? But it was never seen again. It's only this time in life, so it's such a pity that it can't see such a beautiful thing. Wrong. Nangxiangxi shook his head violently, waking up from his memories. Why do you think of that dog again? Nangxiang rubbed his brows when he regained consciousness. He really didn't know why the stray dog adopted by his aunt's friend's second uncle was always so haunting. It seems that every time he acquires a new skill, the other party has to come out to refresh his presence. Nangxiang felt that when the Oka festival was over, and when the winter vacation came, he returned to his hometown in Akita, he should really bring some bones to sacrifice the dog. He shook his head and then focused his eyes on the phone screen. He didn't dare to laugh again this time. Because the smile I just smiled was so evil. It's like that's what it feels like. Obviously the face on the phone screen is his own, but as soon as he smiles, he feels like a different person. That simple upward smile is enough to make people forget everything and indulge in a pure enjoyment of beauty. Even now in Nangxiang, there is a feeling of why am I so handsome? A feeling of. He even wanted to see his almost perfect smile with a face value of 10 again. This is an inexplicable impulse. It comes from the inner impulse of human beings to see beautiful things. Appearance is worth 10. The peak of human appearance. The effect is so remarkable. Even a non-narcissistic person like Nangxiang, she couldn't help but say, "How handsome." Me. This time, even the system seemed to acquiesce to his words without popping up a prompt. But this time Nangxiang held back. Because he feels that there is no point in smiling at the phone, and he has experienced the actual effect himself. But I wonder what effect this skill will have on other people. Nangxiang touched his chin. He was really curious. The skill effects given by the simulator are all kinds of strange, and each one has different effects on everyone. Like the last romantic novel he wrote, a coward like Goto Kazuri had the courage to attack him and forcefully kiss him. But for Ms. Pa and Yuji Zinga, at best, the desire to find the opposite sex to express love to her is nothing more than a desire in her heart. So what about this time? What kind of reaction will there be when using this skill? It's worth giving it a try. Nangxiang thought so. Chapter 147. It's a succubus. A male succubus. 4,000 words. Shinjo-san? Shinjo-san. Hey, huh. Waking up from her sleep, Akane Shinjo blinked her red eyes and looked at the female classmates beside her with a blank expression. The teacher just called you. Ah, hey? Teacher. Shinjo Akane, who had just woken up from her sleep, was still a little confused. Her delicate and upright face was confused. What teacher? Haven't I already graduated? And my surname has been changed to Nangxiang. Don't call me wrong, where is my husband Nangxiang? Halfway through her muttering, she realized that the classmates around her had turned around with surprised faces. Why? Why? Akane Shinjo was stunned. The sleepiness completely disappeared at this moment. She blushed, opened her mouth, and hurriedly whispered sorry before sitting upright again. But even so, the classmates around her didn't stop discussing because of her performance. Instead, they all looked at her in surprise and astonishment. Did you hear it right just now? What did Shinjo-san say? Nangxiang time? Husband. Changed your surname to Nangxiang? This is big news. This is true regardless of whether Akane Shinjo was talking nonsense because she was in a sleep state or it was the real truth. After all, you have to know that Akane Shinjo, who is always second in grade, is a very popular presence in Oka High School. A miraculous girl who is perfect in both studies and sports. Such a girl actually chanted Nangxiang's name when she fell asleep. So caring. Since everyone has a good relationship with Shinjo Akane, the female classmates next to her didn't show up either. They couldn't help but curiously asked, Shinjo-san, are you and Nango-san already in a relationship? Well. As soon as the sentence was spoken, Akane Shinjo's whole body trembled. Then she hurriedly shook her head, how can there be? There is no such thing. Don't talk nonsense everywhere, it's just that I was asleep just now. She was very decisive in her denial. This made the woman who asked the question also blinked and nodded, and did not continue to ask further. Seeing that the other party stopped asking, Akane Shinjo breathed a small sigh of relief. After all, with Nangxiang? Love relationship? How can it be? Who on earth would be the unlucky person to like that man? No. Judging from the memory in her mind, that unlucky guy seem to be herself without a doubt. Akane Shinjo covered her head, her face always disguised, and she was caught in a struggle. It's all the fault of that guy from Nangxiang. Akane Shinjo thought of the man who had attracted him so much recently. While she pretended to take notes, she stretched out her hand in her mind to knead the vision of Nangxiang that came to her mind. Right? That's right. It's all his fault. I worked on it for so long yesterday, even though it was already late at night, I still didn't sleep and kept writing the script. This resulted in her not getting enough sleep last night and having to catch up on her sleep in class this afternoon. Fortunately, she spoke very quietly when she first woke up, so she didn't die on the spot. What if more people heard her words? I have already changed my surname to Nangxiang, what about my husband Nangxiang? Then Shinjo Akane really has plans to escape from this planet overnight. At least she couldn't stay in Oka High School any longer. Yes. That's right. It's all Nangxiang's fault. It's all because of that guy that I'm so weird. Akane Shinjo tries to keep the image of Nango in her mind deteriorating. I want to turn him directly into a heinous sinner. But it was only halfway worse that Akane Shinjo began to mumble and make excuses for Nango. But, what that guy did wasn't a bad thing. Akane Shinjo glanced at the script in the hole in the table, and thought of the extra memories in her mind. Not knowing who to argue with, she muttered, the script was written because of me, right? How could I deliberately discredit him because of something like this? Her expression was tangled, sometimes happy and sometimes sad. The female classmate sitting next to her had a strange expression. No. What's going on, Shinjo-san? Why was he just normal for a while and now he started talking nonsense again? Is he possessed by evil spirits? Her expression was concerned. But he didn't dare to interrupt Shinjo Akane, so he could only cast a glance from the side. And on the other side. When Akane Shinjo thought about the various things that happened in Nangxiang, her originally fair and delicate face with a bit of baby fat turned rosy unknowingly. What kind of dream was that after all? Are you chasing your dreams with Nangxiang? Cut off ties with the Shinjo family? And, did you do that kind of thing with Nangxiang? Are you quite enjoying it? Shinjo Akane hit her head on the desk with a bang. Shinjo-san. The teacher who was standing on the podium and teaching couldn't help but look over. No, sorry. Akane Shinjo, whose forehead was red, apologized softly. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 175. After seeing that the teacher no longer paid attention, she made an overly excited voice in her heart. Shinjo Akane. Shinjo Akane. You are not that ignorant. Just do that kind of thing. He actually had a child with Nangxiang Shia. When I think of these memories that are too vivid in my mind. Akane Shinjo's face turned even redder. Only. She let out a heavy breath. Trying hard to suppress the various emotions surging in his heart. When she thought of Nangxiang, she also thought of what would happen in the future. Days like that. Seems pretty good too. In that dream that seemed almost like the future, he realized his dream, escaped from the Shinjo family that had always trapped him, and walked together with Nangxiangshi. Together with him, he realized his dream, founded a club, and later got married and had children. Everything was so happy and peaceful. And if you think about it carefully, it doesn't seem bad to be with Nangxiangshi, right? That person is very good looking and ranks first in the national simulation test. It can be said that he has a bright future in the future. It is absolutely okay to say that it is an absolute high-quality stock. It would be better to say that if you are like this, you should consider how to get on this line. No. Akane Shinjo suddenly came to her senses. What are you thinking about? Shinjo Akane. That guy has been bullying you. Even in the happy memories in your mind, that guy has been bullying you. To actually fall in love with such a guy, you shouldn't even think about it, right? And didn't you say that before? Who would fall in love with that kind of guy? Shinjo Akane once again fell into inner struggle. And this struggle continued directly until the end of Get Out of Class. Wait until Akane Shinjo reacts. The surrounding students have basically left. No wonder no one said hello to her. After all, the way she looked when she was struggling just now was too scary. His expression looked happy and depressed for a while, as if he was looking at something, and then suddenly fell into silence. None of her friends dared to disturb her in this state. Ah, it's true. Covering her head, Shinjo Akane struggled to get rid of the messy thoughts from her mind. Why do you always think of that annoying guy? Damn it! That guy. He made me so upset. Akane Shinjo glanced at the time and then at the setting sun outside. If she saw that guy again next time, she would definitely give him a few sarcastic words without making any distinction. She secretly made up her mind and decided to go home first before thinking about other things. Simply put things away. Carrying her student shoulder bag, Akane Shinjo opened her legs wrapped in black socks, opened the classroom door, and walked out. Then. Ah, Shintiao. Just in time. Eh? Nangxiang. Just open the door. After regaining her composure, Akane Shinjo bumped into the young man who had made her confused all afternoon, Toki Nango, who was also carrying a student shoulder bag. Just now, Akane Shinjo was still imagining in her mind how she should ridicule him and teach him a lesson after meeting Nangxiang. At this moment when I saw Nangxiang, all the prepared lines in my mind disappeared. She subconsciously took 2 steps back, her eyes wandering to where she was looking, and she said hello shyly. "En Nangxiang, haven't you gone home yet? What are you shy about?" Inwardly cursing her own weakness when facing Nango, Shinjo Akane's face turned red. "I'm just getting ready to go back now." Nangxiang, she answered casually. "Yes, really. Then, that's it? I'm almost going home." Cutting off the conversation abruptly, like a frightened bird, Akane Shinjo turned around and wanted to leave. She didn't know why, but the memory came to her mind, making her feel inexplicably nervous and shy just when she saw Nangxiang. Her mouth, which was usually able to talk about many interesting topics, couldn't say anything at this moment. She opened her legs to leave. But Nangxiang stood in front of her without hesitation. "Wait a moment, Shinjo, I just have something to ask you about." What's the matter? "I'm very busy." The way was blocked by Nangxiang. Akane Shinjo's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. But on the surface she was still unwilling to give in, pretending to be extremely impatient. "Don't stop me, I'm leaving now dash." "Okay, just stand there and don't move." "Ah, yes." The impatience he had just pretended disappeared under the semi-command tone of the young man in front of him. Shinjo Akane stood firm, still muttering, "What on earth is going on?" "You'll find out later." Nangxiang answered casually. "Wait a moment." Akane Shinjo couldn't help but look at Nangxiang. Under her gaze, a smile gradually appeared on Nangxiang's handsome face. It was a face that was extremely in line with human aesthetics no matter which angle it was viewed from. Nangxiang's expression was quiet, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and the corners of his eyes were slightly raised, making him look charming that could not be described in words. And Akane Shinjo feels like she is the one who is addicted to the sea of charm and unable to struggle out. The sunset was just setting at this time. The color difference between the setting sun and the semi-darkness of the room made the young man's smile look like a solidified oil painting, an unparalleled work of art. It's like it's a magical smile. Just one glance and you will fall in love with each other. Shinjo Akane looked a little dazed, her pair of Akane's red eyes staring at Nang Xiangxi without blinking. Then, she heard Nan Xiangxi speak with such a smile. "Can you lend me some money temporarily, Shintiao?" "Huh? Okay." If it was normal, maybe Akane Shinjo would have said a few sarcastic words to the other party. But looking at the smile in front of her, she subconsciously took out her wallet from her pocket, counted out a few 10,000 yuan bills, and handed them to the other party. "Is that all?" The young man with a smile on his face frowned slightly, as if he was very dissatisfied with the amount of money handed to him. And just this frowning movement gave Akane Shinjo a heartbreaking feeling of love and pity, like a strong sense of guilt for destroying some kind of artwork, forcing her to speak in a panic. Wait a minute." She hurriedly took out several more 10,000 yuan bills from her wallet, and when she hurriedly handed them to Nang Xiang, she still looked uneasy. "Is this enough?" "Well, it should be enough." Looking at the amount of money in his hand, the young man seemed to be finally satisfied. He groaned, then nodded, "Then Shinjo-san, can you hand me your mobile phone and wallet?" "Why? Cell phone? Wallet?" At this time, even Akane Shinjo, who was intoxicated by the charm of youth, came to her senses. She hesitated. "Forget about the wallet. But there is a lot of personal information in his mobile phone. Giving this thing to the other party, isn't it appropriate no matter what aspect you think about it? Then, please, Shinjo-san." The young man came closer and looked at the girl with short pink and purple hair in front of him sincerely. "Give it. Give it." The hesitation just now disappeared as if it didn't exist at all. This time, Shinjo Akane took out her mobile wallet from her pocket without hesitation and handed it to the young man in front of her. But this time, the other party didn't accept it, and just said in a teasing voice, "I was just joking, Shinjo-san, who would take the initiative to ask for the wallet and mobile phone of a girl in the same grade?" "Why?" As soon as the sentence was spoken, it was as if the magic of the charm was lifted. Akane Shinjo came back to her senses and realized that she had done such a stupid thing. The delicate and pretty face that had been stunned just now was full of shyness at this moment. She took her phone and wallet back and glared at Nan Xiangxi hard and viciously. But because of the blush on his face, even this glare felt inexplicably cute. After glaring at this, Shinjo Akane ran away from Nango Toki in embarrassment. His steps seemed very flustered, and he even forgot to tell Nang Xiang the specific date for repaying the money. This made Nang Xiangxi feel dumbfounded when he looked at the tens of thousands of yen bills in his hand. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Zi Wei. Chapter 176. Well, it's just an experiment after all. It's better to return the money to Miss Shinjo tomorrow. Chapter 148. Ms. Godu becomes more confident, 4,000 words. You can actually do this. Recalling Akane Shinjo's action of handing him her mobile wallet just now, Nango couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the love simulator should be renamed the evil simulator. Each of these evil skills is more outrageous than the last. Not to mention anything else, just a smile can make Ms. Shinjo obediently hand over her wallet and mobile phone. Isn't this a bit exaggerated? I feel like the little butter in the middle of the night, the succubus who seduces others in the TV series. But Nang Xiangxi quickly seemed to think of something and shook his head. At first glance, some people may think that the effect of Nango Akane's perfect magic smile is too outrageous. But in reality, Nango Akane's perfect magic smile is actually just the effect of add 1 appearance value, and it is also a temporary add 1 appearance value. In other words, if you want to achieve the level of maximizing the effectiveness of this skill like Nang Xiang, you must have the same outstanding appearance as him with an appearance value of 9. If it is a person with an appearance value of around 7 or 8 or 5 or 6, it's definitely not possible to achieve the level just now. In other words, as expected, you still have to be good enough. Nang Xiangxi once again confirmed the fact that he was indeed excellent. At the same time, he thought of another thing. Speaking of which, I think I'm going to her house today to pick up the special effects discs and DVDs, and she seems to want to treat me to dinner. No. As expected, forget it. Recalling Miss Shinjo's expression just now, Nang Xiang felt that it would be safer to call it a day. After all, it is different from reality and simulation, and it is not good to keep forcing the other party. Putting the 50,000 yen left by Miss Shinjo into his wallet, Nango walked towards the first grade. He has not yet forgotten about giving tutoring lessons to the ending band. At the same time, on the other side, Goto Ichiri, who had just woken up from his sleep, had a dull look on his face. It's over. She could feel that in addition to Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina, there were more memories in her mind. And this time it was someone she knew. Shinjo Akane. She trembled as she muttered the name, feeling that this time it might be all over. Goto Ichisato's gloomy, fair, and delicate face, hidden under his bangs, was completely sluggish. Shinjo Akane. That's Akane Shinjo. The only girl in the second grade who can be compared to Nango Shi, the queen at the top of the food chain at Oka High School. Even someone on the fringes of campus like himself knows exactly how outstanding the other person is and how popular the other person is. Being a love rival with this kind of person. Woo! Goto Ichisato let out a hopeless cry. Although she had experienced it before, she finally discovered it now. The Nang Xiangxi that I like is too good, right? These girls have different looks, but their temperament and appearance are no weaker than those idol girls on the internet. They all actually fell in love with Nang Xiangxi. A gloomy and unattractive girl like me, how on earth can I make Shi fall in love with me? She fell into confusion. And it was at this time. Ikuyo Kita, who was flipping through a music magazine next to him, couldn't help but ask curiously, "What's wrong? Goto-san. What's wrong?" Why did Goto-san's mood suddenly become depressed again? It was obviously just a nap. In the end, what happened? Kita Ikuyo looked at Goto Kazuri with some confusion. "No. It's nothing serious, I just suddenly want to die." "Goto-san." Kita Ikuyo's face was filled with astonishment. When she heard the previous sentence, she was slightly relieved. As a result, the sentence "I really want to die" suddenly appeared at the end, which made her couldn't help but cheer up. "Goto-san, what's wrong?" "No. That, just..." Goto Ichiri was hesitant and somewhat speechless. "Suddenly there were more memories in my mind than there should be, and I was deeply troubled by these memories. If I told Ikuyo Kita such ridiculous things, even the person who had always been cheerful and enthusiastic would probably think that I was just a weird person. I can't say it, I really can't." So she could only simplify her sentences in a low voice. "It's just that I feel a little courageous with Senior Nang Xiang. Don't have the courage anymore." Kita Ikuyo blinked. After long-term contact, she actually knew that Goto Kazuri had such a temperament that could easily lead to depression. "I guess it will be the same this time, right?" Thinking of this, Kita Ikuyo considered his words and was about to say some words of encouragement to the other party. "Ah, Kita-chan, so you are here. Mr. Murakami, the Chinese teacher, is looking for you. It seems he has something to explain." A classmate next to me came up to remind him. "Go right away." Oops, why did something suddenly happen at this time? Kita Ikuyo could only show a hearty and apologetic smile to Goto Ichiri. "I'm sorry, Goto-san, I will deal with things over there first. You wait a moment, and we will go to the stars together. Ah, okay. Goto Kazuri nodded subconsciously and watched Kita Ikuyo leave. Then, she hugged her head again. It's over, it's over. As long as he thinks about the possibility of confronting Akane Shinjo, the other party may be his love rival. Courage is draining away at an alarming rate. And there are so many people who like Ashi. How can we compete successfully? Ah, I found it. It's here. A voice came from the door. The overly familiar voice made Goto Ichiri turn his head subconsciously. Then she blinked in surprise, and her body curled up subconsciously, assuming a defensive posture. Senior Nangxiang. Yes. The person who came to her door was none other than Nangxiang, whom she had been thinking about just now. Huh? Are you alone in Ely? Where is Kita? Nangxiang. She glanced at the classroom. Since school has been out for a long time, most of the students have almost left, either participating in club activities or going home directly. The huge classroom seemed empty. Ah, Kita-san, I was just called away by the teacher. Is that so? Nangxiang. She casually pulled up a seat and sat down. So close, so close, so close. And it smells so good. Goto Ichiri's heart beat rapidly at this moment. There was no such thing as deodorant in Nangxiang. Perhaps it was because of the wind blowing in the classroom, but the scent of the shampoo he used was particularly noticeable when he was 1 mile closer to Goto. What's wrong? You have a bitter face. Nangxiang glanced at Goto Ichiri. When Ichiri Goto was talking to Ikuyo Kita just now, he felt a little depressed and disappointed, and it has not dissipated yet. Naturally, I felt it when I was in Nangxiang. Ah, no, it's okay. Goto Kazuri was obviously aware of this, and he tried to move his hands in front of his chest to show that there was nothing wrong with him. Yeah. Ms. Goto obviously didn't mean what she said. When he said this, he didn't even dare to look at himself, feeling downcast. Nangxiang thought about it and decided to give this girl who was usually afraid of society and had low self-esteem some encouragement. Ely, let me show you something interesting. Why? When Goto Kazuri looked at Nangxiang subconsciously. Then, she saw the smile on Nangxiang's face. This is a smile that Ichiri Goto cannot describe in words. Just at first glance. It will make people fall in love with someone who smiles like this unconditionally. Goto Kazuri seemed to have been hit by something. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 177. At this moment, her brain stopped thinking, and her blue eyes hidden behind her bangs stared at Nangxiang without blinking. Well. Is it too much? Looking at Goto Ichiri's completely stunned expression. Nangxiang secretly said it was bad. Originally, I wanted to give her some mental encouragement and check the effect of the skill, but it seemed to have the opposite effect. Nangxiang thought about the last time he was attacked by Goto Ichiri. That time they were attacked when they were alone. He can still find some excuses to get by. But this is a school after all. Nangxiang thought for a moment, and in order to avoid being attacked by Miss Goto again in public, he spoke. Sorry, Ely, I suddenly felt thirsty. I went to buy some drinks. You wait for me here, and I will go to the Stars exhibition hall with you later. Nangxiang made a random excuse and left the classroom without hesitation, planning to come back after Goto Kazuri regained his composure. And it was almost 2 minutes after he left the classroom that Ikuyo Kita finished answering a few questions from Mr. Konibamoru and walked back to the classroom. Since she had been worried about Goto Ichiri's mental condition, she had been a little absent-minded in the office just now. I don't know how Goto-san is doing alone. She was a little worried. Goto Kazuri is the kind of person who can easily have random thoughts if he is left alone. It's really worrying. Thinking of this, Ikuyo Kita walked faster and walked directly into the classroom. After looking at the back of Goto Kazuri, who was still sitting there, she opened her legs without hesitation and went over to say hello. Goto-san, I'm back. Hey, who are you? Kita Ikuyo opened his mouth, and the expression on his face changed from worry to shock, and then to shock. In fact, it's no wonder she said this subconsciously. The key is that the Goto Ichiri in front of her does feel strange to her. At this time, the other party had already lifted the gloomy bangs that covered his face to both sides, revealing the exquisite face hidden underneath. Her eyes were shining brightly, and her whole face seemed to radiate confidence and light. If it weren't for Goto Kazuri still wearing the iconic pink sportswear, sports trousers, and black pleated skirt, Kita Ikuyo could not recognize that the confident girl in front of him was the gloomy and hidden Goto Kazuri. But even so, Kita Ikuyo still spoke somewhat unconfidently. Goto-san. Is it Goto-san? It's me, Kita-san. The pink-haired girl nodded and smiled brightly at Ikuyo Kita. Super Goto-san? This bright and cheerful smile was so dazzling that it made Ikuyo Kita, who was always known for his sunshine, feel ashamed of himself at this moment. No. Mainly because I just went there for a few minutes and talked with the teacher for a while. Why did Goto-san become like this when he came back? That's Goto-san, why did such a big change happen all of a sudden? She couldn't understand it at all. Although I don't want to see Goto-san feeling depressed. But this situation doesn't look normal, right? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but say, Goto-san, can I ask, what's wrong with you? Just now, Kita-san. His face was filled with indescribable brightness and positivity. There was no trace of the usual gloom and loss in Goto's blue eyes, and his upright and lovely face was filled with seriousness. I have found the goal that I will strive for in this short life. Why? Kita Ikuyo opened his mouth, his cute and cheerful face full of doubts. Is that so? That's right? That's it? Goto Ichiri clenched his fists. I didn't know until now how stupid I was just now. I actually wanted to give up because of the slightest setback. But now I understand it completely. Goto raised his head. You really have to rely on your own hands to get what you want. Even if there are difficulties during this period, even if the ending may be unsatisfactory, the scenery along the road of life is also very important. This is youth. Ikuyo Kita. Hiss. She couldn't help but take a breath. The Goto-san who has never seen any positive sunshine and youthful things. He actually said words that made her feel sick, praising youth. This Goto-san's current state is indeed a bit abnormal, right? She wanted to say something, but she swallowed all the words as they reached her lips. Just when she was in a dilemma. Kita-kun is here. A voice came over, making Kita Ikuyo couldn't help but turn his head and look, and then he realized that at some point, Nangxiang was standing at the door of the classroom with 3 cans of drinks. Senior Nangxiang. Kita Ikuyo hurriedly said hello, and then looked at Goto Izato. She has not forgotten her mission as Goto Ichiri's wingman. You must know that there is a rare opportunity in front of you. Just the 3 of them. If she were Ichiri Goto, she would not hesitate to go up and say hello to Nango-senpai at this time. She hurriedly turned her head and whispered advice, Goto-san, hurry up and say hello to Nangxiang-senpai, leaving a cheerful impression. Then. Ashi, you're here. Under the shocked expression on Kita Ikuyo's face, Goto took 3 steps in a row and 2 steps in a row. With his left hand, he lifted the long hair beside his ear to show his heroic spirit, and at the same time, he directly hugged Nango Toki's arm with his right hand. In such an intimate and bold act. At the same time, he was also under the dull gaze of Kita Ikuyo. Goto Ichiri kissed the side of Nangxiang's face without hesitation, and then raised his face with a face that could satisfy anyone's taste. Let's go, Ashi. Chapter 149. Clumsy Miss Liang and Miss Ely, 4,000 words. So, what happened to little Lonely? Ichiki Hunka couldn't help but make a sound, and then looked at Goto Kazuri, who was holding his head on the other side. Don't blame her for asking such a question. Because Goto Kazuri was lying on the table with his face in his arms. Shake, 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 shake. Although I didn't see the expression, Iji knew that Hungzia could almost see that Goto Kazuri might have a confused face now. Ah, it's nothing. Kita Ikuyo, who was caught for questioning, coughed dryly. Mainly because of Goto Ichiri's series of actions when facing Nango, how should I put it? Kita Ikuyo, who has a caring personality, feels that this is not something that can be publicized. The main reason is that even if you say it, the people present probably won't believe it. The gloomy-looking Goto Kazuri, who was so fearful that he didn't dare to look at others. He actually got so carried away that he took the initiative to attack Nan Xiang. Just link arms. Even kissed. Kita Ikuyo couldn't think about it anymore. He could only keep looking at Nango and Goto Ichiri as he was clearing away the dishes. Compared to Goto Ichiri, Nang Xiang's expression was much more natural. He was still acting normally among the stars as usual. Mainly because it's not as usual and not very realistic. After all, it was not the first time that Ichiri Goto suddenly attacked me. Last time the other party held his mouth and chewed it, his tongue stuck out. This time it can be considered that he brought it upon himself and used his skills on Goto Ichiri, which led to this result. But how to say? Goto Ichisato's lips are really soft. Nan Xiangxi touched the side of his face. At the same time, he reached out and took out his cell phone, and took a look at himself on the phone. After experiments on Akane Shinjo and Kazuri Goto, Nango Shi also basically figured out the triggering mechanism of Nango Akane's perfect magic smile. This skill must be activated deliberately by him to be effective. If you just smile normally, this skill will not be triggered. It can be seen that although the simulator is evil, it is still quite considerate in such matters. At least Nango Akane's perfect magic smile is not a passive skill and does not affect his real life. Otherwise, Nang Xiangxi would never dare to smile casually from now on. He put the phone down directly. It was at this time that the door of the Stars exhibition hall was pushed open, and at the same time, a girl with short blue hair walking in carrying a piano bag. She immediately saw Goto Ichiri lying on the table shaking constantly, so she blinked her ember eyes and turned her head to ask Nang Xiang. What's wrong with loneliness? Instead of asking about Ely's situation, it's better to take good care of yourself. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Uda Wei. Chapter 178. Nan Xiangxi raised his head and glanced at Yamada Ryo. You are the last one. Why? Yamada Ryo didn't quite understand what Nang Xiang meant by his words. And the band tutoring thing. Nang Xiangxi explained. Hey? Is there still such a thing? Yamada Ryo sat down and was stunned. Nang Xiangxi hasn't taken any action in the past 2 days. Her brain, which doesn't have a particularly large memory, has already left the tutoring matter somewhere. It wasn't until Nang Xiang brought it up today that she suddenly realized that there was such a thing. What do you mean by there's something else? I was quite speechless when I was in Nang Xiang. He no longer knew how to describe Ryo Yamada in front of him. You must know that the other person is the same as yourself, already a sophomore in high school, and can be regarded as a student who has to work hard for the college entrance examination. As a result, Ms. Yamada was still the same as before, without any signs of nervousness. Ms. Yamada, do you know the serious situation in Biendao now? Your grades are the worst, and you are already a sophomore in high school. If you continue like this, you may not be able to go to college. Even if you play the bass very well, you still have to do it before that. Think about what's ahead. Nan Xiangxi stretched out his fingers and tapped on the table. Hey? It's so embarrassing. Why did you suddenly praise me? Miss Yamada held her delicate and neutral face with a expressionless expression of shyness. When did I ever praise you? Didn't I tell you that I play the bass well? Except for the bass, didn't Ms. Yamada hear my comments about you in other aspects? What? Yamada Ryo raised his head in confusion and blinked his delicate eyes. It can't be helped, this woman can be said to be hopeless in every sense of the word. In Nangxiang, I was speechless and choked. It seems that the key word bass is not in Miss Yamada's mind. I really can't listen to anything. Why? Never mind. Nangxiang shook his head and wisely did not dwell on this topic. He instead stretched out his hand to let everyone move closer to him. At the same time, he began to explain his tutoring plan. After my 2 days of research, Hongxia-san and Kita-san are currently considered to be the best performers in the small group called the Ending Band. Yes. In the past 2 days in Nangxiang, apart from writing scripts and novels, I have not been idle. He made a special trip to study the situation of Kita Ikuyo and Ijichi Honka. It should be said that these two are indeed the sunshine characters who ended the band. Judging from test scores and learning status, Itaka Nihonka and Kita Ikuyo both showed a crushing advantage over Yamada Ryo and Godu Kazuri. In other words, as long as you, Kita-san and Hongxia-san, are tutored in your partial subjects, you won't have that big of a problem in the next series of exams. Nangxiang spoke simply. Kita Ikuyo is only a freshman in high school, and he is not old enough to worry about exams. But Ichiki Honka next to her is a sophomore in high school like Yamada Ryo, so she should pay more attention to her. Thinking of this, Nangxiang took out the test paper from his student shoulder bag and handed it to Ichi Hoshige and Kita Ikuyo. This is, as you can see, the test paper. Nan Xiang's tone was calm. Of course we know it's a test paper, it's just, Nangxiang-san, these questions. Kita Ikuyo and Ichiki Honka looked at each other, then looked at the test paper in their hands. On the test paper in their hands, every question, symbol, and stroke was handwritten by Nangxiang Shun. His handwriting is very beautiful, different from mechanical printing, and has an indescribable beauty of character. Only Nangxiang-san, that. Ichiki Honka and Kita Ikuyo spoke hesitantly. Actually, it doesn't have to be so troublesome. Yiji Hongxia's bright red eyes looked at Nangxiang with concern. Every test paper must be written by hand. This is too time-consuming. Yes. Although the test papers for Japanese high schools are not very large, a single section test for one subject only lasts about 45 minutes. But it also consumes a lot of energy and time in the long run. Kita Ikuyo also came closer in agreement. I think Ijishi-senpai is right. If this continues, it may affect Nango-senpai's grades. Her idea was very simple. It would be too laborious to write out the questions for each test paper by hand. It would be enough to buy some targeted question outlines and materials on the market and give them to them. Nangxiang was also an exam taker, and if he did this for the two of them, it would drag down his grades. Regarding the two of them's worries, Nangxiang's attitude was very simple. He just glanced sideways at Hikaru Itaki and Ikuyo Kita, then lowered his head and continued to search for something in the student's shoulder bag. While rummaging around for something, he replied calmly, "Not that I'm boasting, my grades won't be affected just because of tutoring." Just tutoring? Listening to Nangxiang's nonchalant words, he felt that the other party's attitude was too easy. Ijishi Honka and Kita Ikuyo, who were still worried just now, looked at each other. The confidence in Nangxiang's words was something they had never had before, the kind of academic master confidence. Is this the confidence of the #1 genius in the country's mock test? Besides, if you don't want to cause trouble for me, Then quickly overcome the weak subjects, this will be more useful than any other concern. Nang Xiangxi added another sentence. This is true. Itaki Hungzia and Kita Ikuyo nodded. Yes. Rather than thinking that if this continues, it will drag down Nang Xiangxi. It's better to think about how you can work hard not to drag Nang Xiang down. Then the tutoring plan is almost to overcome the problem of partial subjects, that's how it was decided. Nang Xiangxi simply decided on the tutoring plan for the two of them, and was about to continue talking. That. Kita Ikuyo raised his palms in embarrassment. Do you have any other questions? Nango Senpai, you haven't mentioned Ryo Senpai and Godu-san's tutoring plan yet. When looking at Nang Xiang, Kita Ikuyo coughed twice and raised this topic. What's their tutoring plan? That's right, Ryo Senpai and Godu-san didn't have to take tutoring lessons with us before, right? Kita Ikuyo spoke. But what she didn't expect was that Nang Xiangxi actually shook his head. Their tutoring is different from the two of you. Kita Ikuyo blinked strangely. It's different. Yeah. Completely different. Huh? Why? Kita Ikuyo asked incomprehensively. Generally speaking, when it comes to tutoring, isn't it just about correcting one's weak subjects? Is there any difference? Weak subjects. Listening to Kita Ikuyo's words, Nang Xiang looked at her deeply. Both of them have no weak subjects. In other words, both of them are weak subjects in all subjects. Ikuyo Kita. Kita Ikuyo was silent. Especially when she heard Nango say that the two of them are weak subjects in all subjects, Kita Ikuyo could clearly hear his obvious gasp. Obviously, even the #1 national simulation tester has never seen this battle. Yes. Indeed, I had never seen this battle when I was in Nangxiang. He looked at Miss Yamada who was holding it in his hand. This woman has failed all subjects. If she continues like this, let alone getting admitted to college, it will be a huge problem whether she can successfully graduate from high school. The main reason is that this woman is so shameless. Even if she is criticized so mercilessly by him, she can still eat the snacks on the table bought by Ikuyo Kita without any expression. Seeing him looking over, she even said, "You want to eat too?" expression. When Nang Xiang looked at Miss Yamada like this, he felt that if he gave her tutoring lessons, he would be so angry that his life would be shortened by a few years. And on the other side was Goto Kazuri. When Nan Xiang looked at Goto Ichiri, who was afraid to speak or even take a breath, he sighed slightly and touched the poor woman's head lovingly. She is even worse than Miss Yamada. Ms. Yamada has a few subjects that can be considered low-altitude flying. As long as she works hard, she might be able to pass. But Miss Goto is really different. Several of her subjects were in the single digits, and the worst subject even had 0 marks. It could be said that there was no hope at all. Although there is a reason why Oka High School's test paper is much more difficult than Miss Yamada's Shimokitazawa High School test paper. But single-digit scores, if I continue like this in Nangxiang, I really feel that Ms. Goto will drop out of school midway through her freshman year of high school. Thinking of this, Nangxiang couldn't help but encourage her, "It's okay, Ili. It doesn't matter if you are stupid. Don't worry. There is a saying in Japan that says stupid children are more lovable." Goto Kazuri. Listening to Nang Xiangxi's words, Goto Kazuri looked at him subconsciously, opened his mouth, and looked confused. It was clear that she was comforting me, but why couldn't I be happy at all? When, the difference in temperature between me and Little Lonely was too big. His mouth was filled with snacks at some point, and Yamada Ryo spoke expressionlessly while eating. "Rather than worry about this kind of thing, if you can pass all subjects next time, I can satisfy any of your requests, Ryo. My love simulation with them." Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 179. Nang Xiang glanced at Miss Yamada who expressed dissatisfaction. "Any request, Yamada Ryo suddenly became interested. That lazy and elegant face looked up at Nang Xiang. Yes, whatever you want. Nang Xiangxi agreed casually. He really didn't think Miss Yamada could meet the requirements for passing all subjects. After all, whether in a simulation or in real life, the other party's results are so worrying. Not to mention passing, even the shadow of passing is probably not visible. With such results, what changes do you want to make in a short period of time? To be honest, even Nang Xiangxi thought it was impossible. He didn't pay attention to Yamada Ryo, who seemed to be thinking about something. He stood up and concluded the tutoring plan. Anyway, the general situation is like this. Hongzia-san and Kita-san, you two are doing test papers to supplement your partial knowledge. As for Ryo and Ichiri, Nang Xiangxi pondered for a moment, then said, I will personally supervise the study of the two of them. After all, they were also two of his simulation subjects, and Nang Xiang Toki also obtained many props and skills based on their simulations. From this point of view, Nang Xiangxi also felt that he should at least help the stupid Miss Liang and Miss Ely get into college. Chapter 150. The Shura field is brewing somewhere he doesn't know. 4000. Help the stupid Miss Liang and Miss Ely get into college. This was what Nang Xiang thought until the tutoring started. But after tutoring started, I don't know this question, please teach me. Good. About 3 minutes passed. I don't know this question, please teach me. Didn't I teach you just now? Forget. Good. Another 3 minutes passed. Miss Liang, what's the matter with you? Is it I don't know this question, teach me again? No. Oh. Then what did you ask me to do? There was silence for a while. Can you show me the answer? Snapped. This was the crisp sound of the reference book being rolled into a volume and hitting Ms. Yamada's empty head. This is the situation with Miss Yamada. On the other side, Ichisato Godu. Ely, is there anything you can't do? Twitch, shake, shake, shake. 2 minutes passed. Ely, is there something you can't do? I see you have stopped writing for a long time. Twitch, shake, shake, shake. Another 2 minutes passed. Miss Godu, if you can't, you have to say no and don't keep shaking. I won't eat you. I can't. Where can't it be? All. Snapped. This was the sound of Nang Xiangxi's palm slapping his learned head out of frustration. Looking at Godu Kazuri and Yamada Ryo in front of them, Nang Xiangxi really felt an emotion called physical and mental exhaustion at this moment. One was able to say openly, can you show me the answer, while the other found it very difficult to speak and communicate. Both men are extremes of extremes in every sense of the word. Just tutor the two of them to do the questions. You can clearly feel the emotion of tiredness when you go to Nang Xiang. You must know that he has never been so tired after studying an entire Tokyo University admission questions at home. Nang Xiangxi now realizes that in a sense, he is really amazing in the simulation. He was able to raise this large group of people and was successfully admitted to the University of Tokyo. Remarkable in every sense of the word. But, how to put it? Nango looked at Ryo Yamada and Ichisato Godu. From the perspective of Yamada Ryo's problem solving, her brain is actually not as bad as Nang Xiang thought, and her smart way of handling it can be seen from everywhere. It's just that she was too distracted when she was studying, and she would always think about music or bass. Once her thoughts wander, knowledge will naturally not enter her head. Although it was slightly difficult for Ichiri Godu to communicate, she always listened to Nango's explanations very seriously. Her main focus was seriousness and hard work. Not to mention that maybe it was because Nang Xiang personally tutored her that she was a little too nervous. After she became familiar with this rhythm, this nervousness would naturally ease. After all, after so long of Nang Xiangshi's active conversations and exchanges, and the continuous efforts of everyone in the band, it ended. Goto Ichiri's symptoms of social anxiety and low self-esteem have actually been reduced a lot. Everything has its place to be shaped. Nan Xiangshi nodded. Although some find it difficult, at least everyone can see hope. Thinking of this, Nang Xiang cheered up even more and watched Ryo Yamada and Ichiri Goto finish the questions. About an hour later. It's finally over. Goto Ichisato made a cry for help and handed the test paper in his hand to Nango Toki. In fact, it's not surprising that she would make such a sound. Because the test papers issued by Nango were very clever, the difficulty level was between Goto Ichiri's ability to understand it and the level of difficulty that he almost couldn't understand. Taking on such a topic naturally made her feel like she was being tortured. It seems like you can do every question, but if you look closely, it seems like you can't do every question. If it were a particularly difficult test question, she would probably give up after just one glance. But this kind of question where I can do every question but seems like I can't do it, it will make her subconsciously think about the solutions to all the questions on the test paper. That's exactly what it is. She should have given up all the time, but she persisted until the end. Ms. Yamada next to her remained silent. But judging from the expressionless look on her face and the vague sight of smoke above her head, her brain CPU, which had not been running much, should be considered to be under heavy load at this time. In fact, this is exactly the case. Ms. Yamada, who never liked doing troublesome things, was halfway through the test paper and was already thinking about how to trick the answers from Nango Toki. It's just that Nang Xiang refused to take the soft and hard advice, and insisted on it until she finished the test paper, until now. Then that's pretty much it. I'll go to the bathroom and come back to correct your papers. You can do whatever you want with the rest of the time. Nang Xiang stretched, put away the answer sheets of Ryo Yamada and Ichiri Goto, stood up and walked towards the toilet. And got Nang Xiangshi's approval. The lounge, which had remained quiet before, finally regained the relaxed atmosphere it used to have when the band ended. Oh, you are indeed Nang Xiang-san. IDC Hongxia looked at Nang Xiang's seat and sighed. I probably understand why Nang Xiang-san can sit at the top of the country's simulation test. This kind of self-control is too scary, right? Indeed, I actually stayed until we finished all the test papers. I didn't even take out my phone to kill time. Kita Ikuyo couldn't help but speak. They worked on the test paper for a full hour from start to finish. And Nang Xiangshi had been sitting next to him during this hour. He just sat there like this, not even taking out his phone to pass the hour of free time. In his words, "You guys are all working hard, how could I be relaxing and holding out my phone to influence you? We must know that modern young people will not be able to hold back for more than 10 minutes, let alone an hour, and they will take out their smartphones to browse some interesting internet information. Iron Man, she." Yamada Ryo's words were still so concise, but the meaning behind them was very clear. Speaking of Nang Xiang Senpai, well, I remember that he wrote an article before and it was published in the school magazine of Oka High School, right? Itaki Hongxia turned her face to look at Goto Kazuri with some curiosity. Ah, that, yes. Goto Ichiri nodded. She thought of the last time she forcibly kissed Nan Xiang, and her face, which was hidden under her two long bangs, slowly turned red. I remember it was a school magazine called Oka, right? I heard that on the day of the Oka festival, a booklet will be produced and distributed in limited quantities to tourists visiting the Oka festival. Itaki Hongxia was very curious. Last time, Ryo, me, and Kita-chan all wanted to take a look at the novel written by Nango-san, but he ruthlessly rejected it. I don't know what kind of content it actually wrote. Ah, I care about it so much, you should be able to see it when you go to the Oka festival, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 180. Well. As the only one present who had watched her hidden in the sea of azaleas, Goto Kazuri remained silent and did not dare to take up the topic. Fortunately, at this time, Kita Ikuyo seemed to notice Goto Ichiri's embarrassment, and helped answer the call. I'm curious about what kind of novel Nango-senpai has written, but we need to be careful after we finish the band's performance at the Oka Festival, right? It feels like we will start special training from tomorrow, and the day is not far away. Ah, that's true. As soon as he heard Kita Ikuyo's words, Itaki Hungzia focused his attention on this matter. That's right. It is indeed curious to see what kind of novel Nang Xiangxi, who ranked first in the national mock test, wrote. But their next live performance is also something that cannot be ignored. Performing at the Oka Festival, gaining live experience while preparing for the next performance, is something you should consider when ending your band. Thinking of this, they became very interested and began to discuss the next things and arrangements for ending the band. And not far away on the other side. Hey! It's finally over. Flip over the gate sign of Liko Liko. The blonde girl stretched after finishing her day's work. At the same time, those crystal clear, fiery red eyes couldn't help but look at the door of Like Like, as if they were waiting for someone to visit. Who are you waiting for? Why haven't you closed the door yet? Qianshu. Oh, Takina, are you asking questions knowingly? Hee, don't you know best who they are waiting for? Nishiki Kishu winked at the black-haired girl who walked out of the kitchen. Of course she is waiting for our future husband. Husband. As soon as she heard Nishiki Kishu's words, Inu Takina, who was already very thin-skinned, turned red in the next second with her cold face. She first glanced around to make sure no one was around, then rushed forward and covered Nishiki Kishu's mouth. This guy is so arrogant. What are you embarrassed about? He finally broke free from Inu Takina's hand. Nishiki Chisuk hugged her plump breasts and made a joking sound. Didn't we all say it in that memory? We want to share Toki-kuns together, and Takina was obviously the one who worked most energetically at night. Her mouth was covered again. Shut up. Don't say any more. The fair complexion has been completely invaded by blush, and Inu Takina's purple wister-like eyes are staring at Nishiki Kishu angrily. This man really can say anything. Even if what she said is true, it would be too bold to speak directly in such a public place. At least she had a bit of a look on her face. And the most important thing is, after Inu Takina once again confirmed that there was no one around, she leaned close to Nishiki Kishu's ear and gritted her teeth. And the husband Sama you are talking about, hasn't he not come to Rico at all these days? On weekdays, hasn't it? I'll just come over to help on Saturday and Sunday. When saying this sentence, Inu Takina was furious as she was forced by Nishiki Kishu, and she also felt a deep sense of helplessness. Yes. When I was in Nangxiang, I didn't come to Rico as often as the fragmented memories in my mind. At most, I would find time to come to Like to help in the kitchen on Saturdays and Sundays. Although thanks to him, the business of Like is also booming on weekdays. But just that. It is completely different from the memory in my mind, and there is a fundamental deviation. Thinking of this, Inu Takina loosened her grip on Nishiki Kishu's mouth, and her pretty face, which had always been like a flower on a high mountain, also became a little gloomy. Maybe that person has no memory at all, let alone the memory of you and me. She made a deep sound. Anyone who knows Inu Takina would definitely be surprised. You must know that Inu Takina, who has always been serious and responsible, never shows such a downcast expression. But how is that possible? Compared to Inu Takina's lack of confidence, Nishiki Kishi's expression was bright, with a bright and sunny smile on her face. Shijun must remember us. And he must have memories of being with us. She asserted this without hesitation. Sometimes I really envy Jianshu your optimism. Inu Takina sighed and couldn't help but glance sideways at her close friend who was as close as a sister to her. She really couldn't understand why the other party could be so optimistic for no reason every time like this. This is not meaningless optimism, haven't you noticed, Takina? What? Nishiki Kishi's words made Inu Takina look confused. It's about store manager Mika. Nishiki Kishi stretched out a finger with a serious expression. Didn't you pay attention to what he talked about with us a few days ago? Some days ago. Inu Takina fell into memories. When store manager Mika returned to the store a few days ago, his expression seemed a little excited. And he told them directly not to worry about the orphanage in the future. At that time, Inu Takina was still worried about dealing with the surge of customers in the store, so she didn't particularly pay attention to this sentence. But now that I think about it, Kinzu, could it be that you think? As if thinking of something in her memory, Inu Takina looked at Nishiki Kishu in surprise. That's right. Nishiki Kishu nodded and put her hands on her hips with a smile. It must be Toki-kun who helped us. Yes. In the fragments of memory. It was Nangoshi who helped make contact, and finally their orphanage received financial support from the Tokyo Red Cross Society. I really don't know what Shijun is thinking about now, and what he is considering. Nishiki Kishisuk took out his cell phone, looked at the panda avatar of Tokyo's most beautiful boy, husband, on the screen, and laughed hee hee. Then she turned around energetically. Speaking of Takina, I remember Toki-kun's school is going to hold a cultural festival recently, right? Is it called the Oka Festival? It's decided. Let's take a day off and go play that day. Why? A surprise for our husband. Alright. Chapter 151. The Shura field gathers at the Oka Festival, 4,000 words. Ah! Don't think about it anymore. Don't think about it anymore. Make this sound. After returning home, she originally wanted to study hard, but she would go to Rika Takarada tomorrow to discuss the details of starring in Monster of the Heart. Akane Shinjo put down her pen. Looking at the empty calculation paper in front of him, Akane Shinjo covered her head. She had been sitting like this for almost an hour. I sat there for an hour, because I was distracted and kept thinking about what happened in Nangxiang, so I should review it. So far, I haven't touched a word of the knowledge I learned in advance. Am I an idiot? Am I really an idiot? Are you still thinking about the person who bullied you? Akane Shinjo even began to wonder if she was being bullied into a fool. But memories in my mind. Akane Shinjo simply lay down at the desk, her eyes flashing as she thought, if the memory in her mind is true, Rika will probably agree to my request and bring the other two people to star in the Monster of the Heart. That's right. It is actually not difficult to verify whether the two realistic memory fragments in your mind are real. That is, she personally invited Takarada Rika, and then Takarada Rika brought Hibiki Yuta and Utsumi Sho. The former Takarada Rika, Shinjo Akane actually knows each other. But the other party's friends Hibiki Yuta and Utsumi Sho, to be honest, except for the memory in her mind, she had never heard of these two people's names anywhere. Is it real, or is it simply a false dream that I sometimes make up because I care too much about Nangxiang? As long as you invite Rika Takarada, maybe everything will be answered. Snap. He took out his phone, turned on the screensaver, looked through the friend list in line, and found Rika Takarada's avatar. It had been several months since the last time I spoke to the other party. They were not in the same class, and since she had moved once, she had not been in contact with Rika Takarada for a long time. Can you really promise me like you did in your memory? Playing a role in a takyozatsu stage play, it's a troublesome thing no matter how you look at it. Akane Shinjo really didn't think Rika Takarada would take time out of the Oka festival to help her for a friend like herself who hadn't contacted her in more than half a year. But anyway. Sure enough, I still have to give it a try. Akane Shinjo raised her hand and sent a message asking if the other party was free tomorrow and that she wanted to ask her for help with something. Then she put down the phone. Will there be a letter? Will you agree to me? Akane Shinjo was a little restless, so she picked up the Raichulan star, the monster from Tsubereya's takyozatsu film, figure beside the table and started to play with it. While playing with the handicraft, she waited for news. On the one hand, she was worried that Rika Takarada would send her a direct message of rejection. On the other hand, she was afraid of what kind of expression she would have when facing Nangxiang in the future if Rika Takarada agreed. Two different moods intertwined in my heart. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Yuda Ziiwei. Chapter 181. Akane Shinjo didn't know what to do. While she was still thinking, the line acceptance beep sounds. Akane Shinjo hurriedly picked up the phone on the table. Unlocking the phone, he confirmed the content sent to him by Rika Takarada. Then, you actually, really agreed. Looking at the message sent by Takarada Rika, she agreed to help her, and said that she would bring news about two more friends at that time. The expression on Akane Shinjo's face was a little tense. Rika Takarada agreed to her request and would also bring two friends. All of this unfolds in accordance with the memory in my mind. If she guessed correctly, the two people should be Hibiki Yuta and Utsumi Sho, whom she had never met before. If it really unfolds like this, just follow the memory in my mind. That means I will really be with Nangxiang in the end. Akane Shinjo's fair and pink face turned red at this moment. Is it possible that he and Nangxiang Shi will finally get married and have children? Is Nangxiang Shi really his destined partner? No, 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 no. Although she had accepted it in her heart, Akane Shinjo was still unwilling to forgive her. She played with the Raichulan star figurine in her hand and muttered viciously. That guy is my destined other half. What's so good about him? That kind of narcissistic star. A guy who talks shit. The Raichulan star figure made a mournful sound in her hand due to her too rough movements. But Shinjo Akane obviously hasn't realized this yet, and still says to herself. Isn't he just a little more handsome, a little nicer to talk, a little better at studying, and a little better at writing articles? Apart from these advantages, what else does he have? Nothing. Empty and dull. He doesn't understand women's hearts. Guy. Akane Shinjo let out a heavy breath, mentally belittled her in Nangxiang, and placed the Raichulan star figure next to the table with satisfaction. But if... what if Nangxiang Shi really got together with her in the end? Thinking of this, Akane Shinjo looked at the Raichulan star figure on the desk very seriously, as if the figure in front of her was Nango Toki. You don't understand women's hearts. No one will invite you to the Oka festival, right? Yes, if you go by what you remember. On the day of the Oka festival, I should go shopping with her in Nangxiang. Then after the Oka festival, you and the other person will confirm your relationship. Thinking of this, Akane Shinjo hugged her chest, which was much plumper compared to her peers, and arrogantly simulated the scene when she met Nangxiang. Oh my, what a poor guy. He actually had to spend the Oka festival alone. Then Akane Shinjo cleared her throat again, imitating Nangxiang Shi's tone, imagining Nangxiang Shi being so moved that he hugged her thigh. Let's have an Oka festival. After saying this, Akane Shinjo's expression became stern again, as if she had no way to deal with the non-existent Nangxiang. Did you think of apologizing just now? You slow man. But forget it. My lord has spared you a lot. Since you are willing to take the initiative to invite me, then it is not impossible for me to consider. This time, Akane Shinjo was only halfway through her stand-up performance. A sudden phone ringing sound came. Shinjo Akane picked up the phone, took a look at it, and couldn't sit still for a moment. Because the caller was Nang Xiangxi, whom she was reprimanding just now. Akane Shinjo held her cell phone and subconsciously glanced at the Raichulan star figure placed on the desk. Thinking of what happened just now, she suddenly felt guilty. To be honest, Akane Shinjo didn't want to answer the call. But it's not right. Just as Akane Shinjo was about to quietly hang up the phone, her white fingers stopped moving. Think about it carefully. Why did Nang Xiangxi suddenly take the initiative to contact me? Could it be that it was exactly the same as in the memory, and he was invited to attend the Oka festival in Nangxiang? This is very possible. You must know that Rika Bayota just agreed to her invitation just as she remembered. Then when Nangxiang takes the initiative to invite her to visit the Oka festival, it's not impossible, right? If that's the case, you should be the one taking the initiative now, right? Thinking of this, Akane Shinjo felt confident again when facing Nango. Yes, you are the one who takes the initiative. When Nangxiang called him late at night, he must have invited himself to the Oka festival just like in the memory fragments. When the time comes, I will deliberately cause harm and decline a little bit. Wait until the extremely narcissistic guy gets a little anxious before he agrees, he. Let this guy always bully me. Thinking of this, Akane Shinjo picked up the phone quickly. Hello? Nangxiang. What are you doing this late at night? Really, I have a lot of things to do. She deliberately made a complaining voice while happily waiting for Nangxiang on the other end of the phone to announce her invitation to the Oka festival. This time, it must have been when I was teasing Nanxiang. Then. It's nothing serious. It's just that although I gave you the script before, I haven't discussed the actors with you yet. I wanted to ask if you already have a suitable candidate. Why? Nang Xiangxi's calm voice came through the microphone, making Shinjo Akane stunned. No. Not inviting her to the Oka festival? Oh, I understand. Akane Shinjo touched her chin. She probably understood Nang Xiang's mental state. Presumably Nango Shi also wanted to invite her to the Oka festival. But taking the initiative to invite him made him feel embarrassed. Really? Nangxiang, you still have this little thought, forget it? Akane Shinjo hummed a tune. Although it was not what she wanted, she was already satisfied that Nangxiang was willing to take the initiative to call and invite her. Let's give him a step down. Think of this. Akane Shinjo said with a smile, I'm trying to find a way to contact my former friends. Really? That means it shouldn't matter if you leave this matter to you, right? It really doesn't matter, but, speaking of which, Nangxiang, I seem to be very free on the day of the Oka festival. Akane Shinjo through the steps. Bring it on. Nangxiang. The steps are already paved for you. Invite people quickly. However. Yeah. Nan Xiangxi's tone on the other end of the phone was still so calm. And this also stunned Shinjo Akane, who was already prepared. Yeah? You just said really? No. I've already given you a step down, Nangxiang. Nangxiang, shouldn't you accept this step with gratitude and invite me? She didn't understand it at all. And it was precisely when she had a look of confusion on her face that Nan Xiangxi spoke again. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Ha? Etc. Nang Xiangxi could still sit still, but Shinjo Akane couldn't. She stood up and spoke to stop Nang Xiangxi from hanging up the phone. Are you about to hang up the phone now? What about the promise to go to the Oka festival together? What about the memories of finding a relationship after that and then working hard for your dreams together? Is there anything else? Over there, Nang Xiangxi spoke with some confusion. What does anything else happen mean? What about the promise of the Oka festival? Shinjo Akane was choked to death by Nango's words, but she still spoke in a low voice. Wait, that, Nango, Oka festival. Huh? Oka festival. Nang Xiangxi on the other end of the phone asked a bit strangely. Ah, that, is, Oka. Oka? Oh, are you talking about the school magazine Oka? My novel has been submitted. If you want to submit a new article, remember to contact Mr. Ishikawa of Mandarin as soon as possible. No. That's not what I'm talking about. Akane Shinjo was stamping her feet anxiously. The beautiful and delicate face also twitched at this moment. Follow the process. Shouldn't the next step be that Nang Xiang invited her to go to the Oka festival together, and then she thought about it again, and finally agreed with some helplessness, such an almost perfect script? Why does this happen? She was so anxious that her pink lips opened and closed again. After a while, he spoke hesitantly. It's, that, on the day of the Oka festival, I'm very free, that is to say, I have time. Oh, so that's what happened. Over there, Nang Xiang also made a sound of realization when he heard this.